Hello from the sober side, also known as post-production, where I try to clean up the mess that the drunk side left in the form of a recording. First thing is, the following intoxicated babbling is based entirely on the games. I have not read the Book of Cain, which is more accurate but doesn't read itself to you while it's drunk. Actually kind of sounds like a win-win. The second note is, I know this game is 24 years old, however Blizzard did recently re-release it on GOG.com. That is golf.com. Not sure why they released it there and not on Battle.net or their app. Regardless, the drunk side will be rambling about the entire story, mostly the events leading up to Diablo 1. So out of courtesy for those that may want to play the game first or read the Book of Cain, there will be spoilers ahead.
Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to Liquor and Lore, where I drink and denote details of diegesis, which is allegedly Greek for narratives. I probably pronounced it wrong. Moving on. Today's episode is Diablo. Specifically, Diablo 1, created by Blizzard Entertainment, originally released on January 3rd of 1997. Now, the thing about this is the player actually has a very small role in the overall narrative. They don't actually come into play until Act 3 of what would be a standard narrative arc of the inciting incident, rising action, and climax. The player doesn't come in until Act 3. And a lot of the lore around Diablo 1 is actually backfilled through both the novels that have been released, for example, The Sin War. I have not read those novels, but also the journal pickups in Diablo 3. Those I have read very recently. Earlier today, actually. Well, technically, I read them yesterday because it's 2 a.m. while I'm recording. But anyway, the journal pickups in Diablo 3, I backtracked and re-listened to. So, our setting is Tristram, a town in the country of Condorus on the world of Sanctuary. This is roughly 240 years after the Primevals, those being Baal, Diablo, and Mephisto, were sealed in soulstones by the Haradrim, a group of powerful mages. The Haradrim were started as 7 members. It doesn't really say if they were leaders or just the 2 most powerful, but the most notable names among the original 7 Haradrim were Jared, Cain, and Tel Rasha. And the Primevals get imprisoned, and then goes on standby for a little over 2 centuries. And we pick back up with Leoric. He's a very religious monarch and decides to unite the central continent. It's not really specified, but he unites and or conquers the area that comes to be known as Condorus. And Leoric's most trusted advisor happens to be an Archbishop of the Zakarum faith, Lazarus. He insists that Tristram should be his seat of power. And so Leoric listens to his advisor and sets up shop in a manor overlooking Tristram with his wife Isilla and his 2 sons Aiden and Albrecht. Leoric is initially a bit dismayed by the backwater filled with serfs and an ancient broken down monastery. These quotes are pulled directly from Diablo 3 lore pickups. And soon after they move, Lazarus he just ventures down into the depths of said broken down cathedral. And, well, the cathedral turns out to be where the Herodrim had hidden Diablo's Soul Stone. Soul Stones are a shard of the World Stone that can imprison powerful beings that they were attuned specifically for. So, in order to contain a prime evil, they had these things were custom made, pulled from the World Stone. More on the World Stone in later episodes, because the World Stone plays a huge part in the lore of Diablo 2. So, Lazarus decides that the thing to do when he finds Diablo's Soul Stone in the depths of this cathedral is to break it. And that releases Diablo, because he's a primeval and doesn't actually need a physical body. And this is about the time when, if you're picking up the journals in Diablo 3, that Leoric says he senses a fetid, pallid malaise has fallen over the manor, but he dismisses it as an imbalance of humors brought on by a change of climate. And this goes on for a little bit. He initially dismisses it, and then he starts to suspect that some malevolent being is trying to take over his thoughts, and he's certain Lazarus, his advisor and an alleged Archbishop of Zakharum, is aware of what's happening. And this goes on for about 5 years. And Leoric is fighting against the attempted possession by Diablo. And he, over 5 years, he adopts a violent and more tyrannical reign. And he kind of earns himself the title of the Black King. And the other advisors, along with his friends and family, they're starting to suspect something is a little off. So, as a diversion, and to ensure Diablo is able to fully possess Leoric, Lazarus, that piece of convinces Leoric that Westmarch is planning to attack Condorus. Spoiler alert, they're not. And most of the advisors nod their empty heads, according to Lochdannen, who was a captain in the Condoran army and was loyal to his king, almost to a fault, but not quite. So the army of Condorus marches west to Westmarch. Yeah. At this point, Leoric sees Lazarus as the only person he can trust and just starts executing any suspected dissidents, which is legitimately any sane person at this point. And that even includes Leoric's own wife, Asilla. Yeah, dude's in the head. And so at this point, Diablo is convinced that, like, he's ripe for the picking. Tries one final attempt to just fully possess Leoric, but it doesn't work. Yeah, there's some shard of Leoric still in there, and for some reason, seeing that, after 5 years, the immortal being of Diablo just says, it. And Diablo releases his hold on Leoric, leaving the King of Condorus completely insane. Meanwhile, Lazarus abducts the son, I guess the prince, Albrecht, and takes him down to the monastery. And Albrecht ends up serving as Diablo's host instead of Leoric, who was the intended for, I guess, breaking down a stronger-willed host makes for a stronger demon? I don't know. The lore I read up on said that Diablo saw that Leoric was strong-willed and would therefore make a strong host. I think the breaking down the will, or the more of a will the primeval has to break down, the stronger they are as a host. It's not really explained, but it's how it happens. The final attempt from Diablo, the immortal being that only tried for 5 years to fully possess Leoric, probably would have succeeded if he had given it another 5. But what's 5 years to an immortal? I don't know. But Diablo says, yeah, it, I'm out. Let this dude be crazy. And Lazarus is like, hey, look at this host, Leoric's son Albrecht. And yeah, that all that happens. Meanwhile, the Condoran army is absolutely devastated by the army of Westmarch, and they're routed, and they return to Tristram. And Lochdannen, the captain of most of the knights, it's not really stated how many units marched west to Westmarch, but it is stated that Lochdannen was one of the captains, and he reports back to Leoric that the attack was a complete failure, and Leoric just flies off the handle. Any pretense of sanity that was allegedly maintained is gone. He just starts cursing, spitting curses at the remaining knights. And so Lochdannen is like, you know what? Let death bring you peace from your madness. And just runs Leoric through. And the actions do make sense. And Lochdannen still considered himself loyal to Condorus. And he tries to bury his king. He brings him to the monastery and tries to bury him, but the Skeleton King rises and starts attacking all the knights, and he kills or curses the last of, well, his army, the knights that remained in the Condoran army. Those that died were raised as skeletons that both served Diablo and just kind of filtered out to attack Tristram. And at this point, the cathedral is just swarming with demons and undead, primarily skeletons. Basically, the bulk of the knights that had died in the Condoran army that had been brought back were raised as skeletons. And at this point, Lazarus goes out into the town and assembles the main fighting force, any able-bodied man or almost of age boy. Many of the townsfolk, he assembles them for a rescue mission because Albrecht is still in the monastery. Well, guess what? It's a trap! And Lazarus leads them into a chamber that holds the butcher. And the butcher kills the assembled militia, for lack of better words. Yeah, we'll go with militia. And this is the point in the story of Diablo 1 where the player finally pushes start game. I think it's new game, and then pick a character, and then probably start from there. But this is where the player finally enters the story. The canonical hero of Diablo, the first game in the series, is Leoric's elder son and the playable warrior. Sorry, rogue and sorcerer. You both were better characters. But it is Aiden, the warrior, who the documents suggest was under Lochdannen's command and returned to Tristram at the same time as Lochdannen after the horrific defeat in Westmarch. But Aiden starts wading through the monastery that's been overrun with undead and demons. He manages to kill the butcher and confronts what is left of his father Leoric, now known as the Skeleton King. That's a tough fight. It doesn't matter what character you pick, canonical or not. Well, the butcher's a tough fight. Leoric's a tough fight. And venturing further down through the catacombs, the overall aesthetic changes, but you're still going deeper and deeper through the monastery. And Aiden eventually finds Lazarus. And justifiably kills him, which allows Aiden to enter the deepest level of the monastery, which happens to be hell itself. And after going even a little bit deeper, because I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that I'm pretty sure. I think there are a couple layers, a couple more floors after you get to hell itself, where you come face to face with the now physically manifested Diablo and what remains, which is not much, of Albrecht. So Aiden manages to kill this manifestation of Diablo, but he's already been influenced by the metaphysical, I guess, Diablo. The corruption has already taken hold in Aiden's mind. We'll say it that way. And Aiden becomes convinced that the only way to contain this great evil of Diablo is in his own body. And so he takes the soul stone that was left from his younger brother's body. Yeah, the game is called Diablo. It's dark. And Aiden decides that the way to contain said dark spirit is to, for lack of better words, install it in his own forehead. And as far as the rest of Tristram is concerned, all is good. Diablo's been defeated, the demons have stopped, and Aiden just, walks out. He's like, okay. And before the celebration even stops, because let's be honest, Tristram, they've been in a pretty tough place for a number of years. So first chance they got, they started celebrating. And during the celebration, Aiden slips to the outskirts of town and spends the night with the town witch Adria. And more on that in Diablo 3. And then Aiden leaves Tristram. And as he does, he is dubbed the Dark Wanderer by somebody. Not sure who. I got a pretty good idea. But somebody starts referring to him as the Dark Wanderer. And he begins venturing to the east. Always to the east. But that is where we start Diablo 2.
Hello again from the sober side of Liquor and Lore. Apparently, my drunk half does not know how to record an outro, so I'm doing that here. Please don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Coming up will be Diablo 2. If you have any ideas for another series you'd like to hear some drunk guy ramble at you about, feel free to put it in the comments.